Today we're with Tony Abruscato, and he is a very special guest because he's bringing in the spring. We're tired of winter, and Tony is the head of the Chicago Flower and Garden Show and is going to show us all about green and gardening.
Hey, Tony, this is Rich Christakis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on. We're honored to have you as a guest, and we're very excited. You know, the Flower and Garden Show, the Chicago Flower and Garden Show is a longtime tradition. I go to it every year. I take my wife every year, and so I'm very impressed with what you guys do. And I've never met you in person, but I got to say, you know, kudos to you, everything you guys got going on. And I see that things seem to be changing at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. I'm presuming for the better. And, you know, in regards to, I hear you guys are making it a lot more sustainable. And how are you doing that? And how does that work?
Well, you know, that's one of the things. The show's been around since 1847. We're the
Wow.
oldest event in the state of Illinois and city of Chicago. And so you have to do things to make it relevant. And so one of the things we're focusing on is green and sustainability and a lot on education, cultivating the next generation of gardener as we go through. So we've made some internal changes at the show where we're being greener and we're more conscious of the environment with targeted floor planning and no idling zones and reusing and repurposing plant material and hardscapes from year to year so that we're doing it internally, but then out to the consumer, we're also giving them ideas about what they can do in their own green space that are more green and more sustainable, native plants, water permeable pavers, rain barrels, and showing people what they can do. And I think that's the key of the future of flower and garden shows, that you'll see that instead of just something pretty to come and look at and then go lunch, go shop on Michigan Avenue, specifically in Chicago, that you'll be able to go home with information that'll impact your own environment.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like you're educating the general consumer, the general public on, and you know, you read my mind. I was going to ask you about permeable pavers, but all the different sustainable things you can do, and I think a lot of people probably don't know what permeable pavers are, so I might want to ask about that a little bit later. But how many displays and vendor booths are at the 2015 Chicago Flower and Garden Show?
You know, we have upwards of 28 gardens at the show, each
Wow.
one displaying a variety of. This year, we're so excited. We're adding in a rose garden. I don't think the show's had a rose garden in 1 or 2 decades.
Yeah, I don't remember one. Yeah.
So bringing in a rose garden, we're bringing in, but with the idea of the rose garden is that we're showing people that it's not so difficult to grow roses, and with the new hybrids that are out, that they're disease resistant and pest resistant. And so we're even showing people what they can do there. And then on top of all of the different gardens, we also have our marketplace with over 100 different booths that have all kinds of things from pruning shears, Fruition Seeds is going to be back there, our friends from the Seed Keepers, and a lot of different folks that'll be in that marketplace area. And then, of course, we'll add in all of our educational programming. We have over 150 different educational programs that'll happen throughout the 9 days of the show.
Awesome. And I have to ask this question. Tell me about your speakers. Who all is going to be speaking with you this year?
Let me see. The first one that comes out to mind is Shawna Coronado. And Shawna's going to join us in 2 areas. We have a seminar area that's a classroom style area, but then we also have a how-to garden, and it's all about demonstrations and how-to and literally showing people what they can do in their own space. So Shawna's going to be not only in our classroom setting, but she's going to be out on the floor in our
on the big stage.
The big stage with our TV monitors.
Shameless self-promotion here, Shawna.
And then throughout that time, we're also going to have different people from the Chicago Botanic Garden. Their experts are coming out and doing demos on that stage. We're bringing in people talking about beekeeping and how to protect bees in our environment. That's, you know, that's very, very important and very popular topic right now. So we're working on that. And we're bringing in speakers from around the country with Bruce Bailey and Susan Fox and Joe Lample and some of these other folks that are coming in. It's going to be quite impressive.
A fantastic lineup.
Yeah, Shawna, you should be thankful to be among those.
I'm honored.
Horticulture industry celebrities lineup at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show.
We just tell them Shawna's going to be there.
Oh my God! No,
they all line up.
No, that doesn't happen. But you know, the best part for me, the improvements that you've made at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, in my mindset, have been all focused on education. When I go to the show, I actually learn something new. And so, I'm interested on how the displays are going to be focused on education. What are you doing specifically with the displays?
We're working very closely with the garden builders about there's 3 areas we're really basing. When I purchased the show in 2011, that we had 3 basic pillars: inspire, educate, and motivate.
Mm.
How can you inspire the consumer with what they see? How can you educate them about what or how they can do it in their own space? And then motivate someone to actually do something in that space. So we're talking with the different builders about how they can inspire, educate, and motivate. So it may be we're working with some folks right now that are doing all containers. And so they're showing people how they can do containers in a small space or an urban setting, but also those containers including vegetables and herbs, so they're just not floral containers. We're talking with people about, I mentioned the roses and how we can use Weeks roses and star roses so that they're less, fraught by disease, which is one of the difficulties. We're talking with people about, we've got NPL, which is a Northern Pipeline, and this is going to sound a little strange, but Northern Pipeline does the construction work for the utility companies, for Peoples Gas, North Shore Gas, and for Nicor Gas. And they're actually coming in, and Christy Weber is building this spectacular garden for them. But they're showing to the consumer how they're redoing all of the pipelines and gas lines that are affecting people's parkways and their yards.
Wow.
But also educating them about, those pipes are only about 2 feet down. So when you're going to plant up a big spruce tree or a maple tree or doing something, it's the whole idea of call before you dig.
Yeah.
And so that educational aspect of letting people know that that's what's out there. And that's something that's really neat for us and really new, that companies are using now the Flower and Garden Show for a public safety and public interest messaging out to the consumer, but it's also green and sustainable, because now they're talking about all the things that they're doing as a company to be more green and more sustainable, and what you can do in your own yard.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, my hope is that people, when they're starting up their seeds right now, right? This is the time, and it's early in the season. They're planting their little seedlings in the house, and they're getting ready for their gardens. I hope that they come specifically to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show so that they can learn more and really get a grasp on a new idea and a new garden design idea that's more sustainable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I want to kind of circle back. When you mentioned the markets, I just wanted to say, I own a couple of garden centers and a wholesale greenhouse myself. And when I go there, I'm totally inspired as a retailer. So, I mean, even just for somebody that's in the gardening industry, in the horticulture industry, in the garden center industry, or as a landscape professional, or if you work in a parks department, there are so many different aspects to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show that I take away from it. And I try to look at it from the consumer point of view. And that's one of the reasons I bring my wife with. But I have to kind of give you that plug and the props to say, I think that there's so many layers to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show that maybe people don't realize, and they, maybe people might skip it a year, and it's so close. It's if you're in the Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area, it goes for, I believe it's 2 weekends, right? It's like a 9-day total.
9 days total.
Carve out some time.
Rich, one of the interesting things is that sometimes our biggest challenge is getting someone who's never been to the show to come. But once they come, we get a fan for life for most of them. And
it's called addiction. That's
But they think it's your grandmother's prized rose on a table, and there's not a lot to see, and we're bringing in ideas about these koi ponds.
Oh, the aquascape display.
Greening. And so people walk in the door and they're like, wow, I had no idea this is what it was about.
Yeah.
And I just got an email the other day from somebody that said, my husband and I went to the show for the first time last year, and it's now becoming a family tradition. We can't wait to come back again in 2015. And so that's where we tell people, venture out. If you haven't seen it, come out and take a look at it and explore it, especially with the whole family. Bring the kids with you. We have a huge kids activity garden, and we're exponentially adding activities for those kids. Working with, I just met with the Cole Children's Museum the other day, and the Cook County Farm Bureau, and Kitchen Community, and the University of Illinois Master Gardeners are all coming in, and they're actually doing a whole program on doing your seeds. And so one of the things we're talking about today is how to plant from seed, because it seems to be a lost art with a lot of people. But we'll be working with, even in the kids' garden, about planting your own seeds, and the kids will be able to take home some potted seeds with them and watch them grow throughout the early part of spring.
That's awesome. One of the goals of the Good Green Home Show with Rich and Shawna here is actually, not just to teach sustainable gardening and sustainable living, but also to educate the next generation of gardeners so that they don't lose that education and there's not that disconnect going from, the school system and then going into getting trained to just buying everything at the mass merchant or the box store. We want to make sure that next generation gets educated. So it sounds like you guys are definitely doing your part in making sure that happens.
One of the things I always talk about, and especially to the industry people, is that we have to cultivate the next generation of gardener.
Yep.
And then that also is / consumer.
Yes.
Because as you know, owning, greenhouses and garden centers, that, that's key. If people aren't interested in gardening and they're not interested in flowers and doing all those things, it has a negative, not only does it have a negative impact on the environment and what's happening around us, but certainly the industry as a whole, and not just the flower and garden show, but the industry as a whole. And so we also find the American Heart Association has studies out that if you get kids interested in gardening at a young age and growing their own vegetables, that they're more inclined to eat that good food when they're younger, but also eat it throughout the rest of their life and have a healthier lifestyle. And that's really one of our goals at the show too, is all about that healthier lifestyle, active living, growing your own vegetables. And so I was excited when you were telling me about the format of the show, because again, it's very synergistic to what we're trying to do and what the industry should be trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tony, we are so grateful that you came on the show today, and that you're going to see both of us at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. We can't wait for the spring to hit us, and definitely to come out and learn a little bit more and be a little greener.
Thanks for coming on, Tony.
I appreciate it very much, and it's always great to talk with you and talk about gardening, and you can tell I get a little amped up when
we all do.
And these next generations, that's key, and it's and it's key, and I'm so excited about this opportunity to talk with you and hopefully drive some people into the show.
You got it.
Awesome.
Well, you have a great day, Tony, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay green.
Are you an organic gardener? Finally, there is a fast-working and effective all-organic insect control available from Bonide. Bonide's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew is the answer to all your garden insect problems. Captain Jack's works two ways, on contact or when the insect feeds. This will ensure that your insect problems are over. Captain Jack's controls all types of insects, including caterpillars, beetles, spider mites, borers, and more. Use it on vegetables, flowers, berries, trees, shrubs, and fruit. Captain Jack's all-organic insect control is available in easy-to-use dust, liquid concentrate, ready-to-use, and ready-to-spray containers with built-in spray applicator. Pick up some Bonide's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew today.
Available at Alsop Nursery in St. John, Indiana and Frankfort, Illinois.